thing access to capital is important, but we want to make sure that you know that we are here to help you work through what is the best program for you. And in some cases, access to capital, taking on more debt might not be the best thing. In some cases, it might be. Our role is to find the best program for you. And working with your local banks, we encourage you to first talk to your banker, see if you can get a deferral of payment, and most of them are willing to do that these days. Also, if you're online and you see an offer or you get a call from a predatory lender, I just want to remind you that if it sounds too good to be true, it is, and to please be careful out there. There are a lot of folks trying to take advantage of us with these loan programs that are not to your benefit. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andy Lucas, and he's going to do a brief introduction for Scott Rogalski, our first speaker. Scott's with the NorCal Small Business Development Center, and here he goes.
Hi, everybody. Is the audio okay for everybody? I can see a few of you on the screen. If we're cutting in and out, please just bear with us. We have a high volume of folks on the call. We appreciate everybody tuning in today. We're going to do our best to work around these technical difficulties. As you all know, everybody's working from home. Everybody's very busy right now, and we're just all trying to stay on top of this information and, really distill it down for our businesses and our communities. So, again, I want to echo what Jeff said. Thank you to our service providers. We have Julie Clowes with the Small Business Administration. We have Scott Rogalski with the Small Business Development Center. We have Robert Gernert with the Mendocino Economic Development Finance Corporation, and Sid Harper with Savings Bank of Mendocino County. And we may have another financial institution calling in if she's available later on today. We're going to do our best to field as many questions as we can. Thank you to those that have submitted their questions already. And I know that there's lots of questions out there. So if we don't get to your questions today, what we're going to do is filter those questions to our service providers that we have online and try to get you the answers that you need. I think there's going to be lots of inquiries on the Paycheck Protection Program, which Julie can field. Scott is a great resource from the SBDC with regard to how you, as a business, become loan ready, and obviously the SBDC has a great knowledge of all the different resources that are out there. Just some quick housekeeping things. What we're going to do is share our screens as best we can. As you submit those questions, we will field those and try to get them answered as best we can. But I think a lot of those questions will be answered in the presentations. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. One thing to remember in all this is that we're all in this together, and we have to continue to communicate with one another. As business owners, it's great to communicate with one another to talk about problem solving and how you're addressing keeping your workforce aware of what you're doing as a business, and also, communicating to your market, to your clients, what you're doing to keep your workforce safe, what you're doing to kind of plan ahead for what's next. And again, this is very fluid, but we're all in this together. So I'm going to go ahead and pitch it over to Scott Rogalski with the Small Business Development Center. And Scott should be able to go ahead and pull up his screen. And if not, we will get you the slides and the information that Scott is going to talk about. So with that, we'll go ahead and toss it over to Scott.
Hey, thank you very much, Andy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Hey, So I'm trying to share my screen, but it won't allow me to. Is there a way that you can take that off so that I can share it?
Yeah, we'll send you a different link and see if that'll help.
Oh, okay. I could also email you the deck, and then you could show it.
That would be great if you want to shoot it over.
Yeah, I'll do that right now. Sorry, just a second. Okay, so yeah, I'll send it right now. Sorry.
Sorry, Scott. I'm not sure. Excuse me. I'm not sure why you're not able to share it.
It's okay. You know, Zoom is weird sometimes. So I get it. It doesn't want us to be productive for some reason. So let me email this to you, Andy, and then you can just bring it right up, and we can jump right into it. So let's see here. Thank you very much, everybody, for your patience. We will get there. Andy, I just have Andy at LakeCountyBroadbandSolutions.com. Is that you?
No, it's and Lucas at att.net.
Oh, there you go. All right, cool. All right, cool. I'm sending it to you right now. There you go. And so everybody on the call, thank you for being here. My name is Scott Rogalski. I am the NorCal SBDC Finance Director, Finance Center Director. And for those of you that don't know who SBDCs are, Small Business Development Centers, we are federally funded from SBA. And we do have Julie Clowes from SBA. She's the district director for the San Francisco, which covers like all the Bay Area and then the North Coast. She is also on the call. We'll get to her after I go through a few things about the financing and what's going on. And so we are federally funded from SBA. So that means we come to you at no cost. So you get to talk to us, work with us. We get to help you apply. We get to help you for these loans. We get to help you fill out your paperwork. So what we do is send you a link so that you could, sign up with us so that we can get you to an advisor. Because as you can imagine, there's a lot of people that have questions. So we're here to help. We have the most updated information from SBA, and Julie will go over that a little bit later. And we have people that can help you right away. We have people that can help you today. If you have questions today, and I can get you to somebody today, whether it be through email or phone call. As you can imagine, we have a lot of phone calls to take, and that's what takes the most time, but we are here for you, and email sometimes is a faster way to do that. When Andy gets this email, he could put up my slides, but the first slide, so I have it here, I just go over real quick. So there you go. Cool, man, thanks. All right, so the first slide just says that this is a disclaimer. So things are changing really all the time, like hourly right now. And they're changing for you, they're changing for us, they're changing for the feds, everything. So this information was correct when I created it, but I would tell you this is the most updated information actually. We just wanted to let you know this. So things are changing all the time. Just want to make sure you know that. But we're doing these webinars, these virtual town hall meetings, because we are here for you. We do have resources. It's awesome that Andy and Jeff, Lucas brought us on the call today to talk to you about it because we are here for you. So go ahead and go to the next slide, please. All right, so quick agenda. We already did introductions. EIDL, we're going to go about EIDL. So EIDL for you, the acronym EIDL means Economic Injury Disaster Loan. It's the acronym for SBA's disaster loan that is currently the only loan on the marketplace right now. And then there's a Paycheck Protection Program, which is under the CARES Act that just launched. And we'll go into that a little bit. And then there's SBA updates, which we have Julie on the phone to help us with that. And then we'll do a quick wrap up. And we'll go into a lot of Q&A. So next slide, please. All right, next one, please. All right, so this is the website. I know there's not much on this slide, but this is the new website to go to. Actually, there's new information because, like I said, we did this the other day. And there is actually new information, actually. Hey, I'm going to send you something right now, Andy. And I was wondering if you could put it up there so they can. Actually, Andy, can you do me a favor? Can you show your screen on Google and go to sba.gov in the URL, please? So we can show these people right away what's going on. There you go.
Okay.
And at the top, see at the top where it says click here? At the top. So click that, and it goes exactly to the application. That's how easy it is to apply now. If you scroll down, the top two bullets under choose one are the ones that you're going to use the most. The top one is any entity that's not a sole proprietor. The second one is any entity that is a sole proprietor. And all the other ones below that is everything else that you may be. You may or may not be. You may be a nonprofit. You may be an ESOP, a cooperative. You may be an agricultural cooperative. You may be a tribal. So you choose either you choose one of those dots that you are, and then scroll down where it says review and check all the following. So you're supposed to check all of those, and then it will allow you to go to the next page. So you choose one at the top, and then all those, and then the button on the bottom that says continue, it will become blue, and then you'll be able to go on. So we're not going to do all that right now, but that's how you apply. You just go to sba.gov, and you apply, and just go back to the screen, the slides, please. So that's what I'm saying, that like what we taught yesterday is wrong already, because it's not this big website anymore. It's just sba.gov. So it's changing very quickly. SBA is really doing a great job right now getting this information out to the business owners and to us as fast as they can, but they're also moving very fast too. So the important thing for anyone on the call is, if you have not applied, you need to apply right now. You need to apply before you do anything. You need to apply right now. If you have any questions on how to apply, we're here for you. We can help you with that. But if you do have the capabilities of just applying all by yourself, you should apply right now if you have not applied. All right, next slide, please. All right, and then next slide one more time. Okay. So I didn't go into, because I built this slide deck, like there's so many things, so it's really hard to get all in one slide. So actually, can you just go back one? Sorry. All right. So I'm not going to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program right now. What I am going to talk about to you right now is that the SBA disaster loan is 30 years. It's a 30-year loan, and it's a direct loan from SBA. They are taking it out of their bank account and they're giving it to you. There's no lender involved. It's just SBA. That's the SBA disaster loan, the one I just showed you where you go to the website and apply. That's the SBA disaster loan. And currently it's the only loan on the market. The PPP, or you see here, I like to call it triple P or P cubed, but the PPP loan doesn't come out until Friday. And this loan from your local lenders. Any SBA lender that you know, it might be your bank. You should start with your bank, who you have your money with as your business. Any preferred SBA lender that already does the 7A program. There's two SBA loan programs that are the most used, and it's 504 to buy a building or large equipment, and a 7A. And a 7A, you don't need to know why it's called 7A, because I don't know why it's called 7A. I think that's where it is in the statute, where it's located. But so it's called 7A. So all your SBA preferred lenders that you may know of or bank with, and a couple of them might be on this call, if they offer a 7A at their place of location, then they can offer the triple P. The triple P is a lender loan, and SBA is backing it. So they're guaranteeing it in case you go out of business, then the SBA will pay back a lot of your loan to the bank. That's how it works. So SBA is guaranteeing these loans. It's like an insurance package to help better assess risk. So it's like a guarantee. So we haven't been told yet how long the guarantee lasts. We told that I think hopefully, Julie might know more of this as she talks a little bit later, where it's 100% guarantee from today to the end of the year, whenever you get the loan. And that means that there's really not a lot of risk for the lenders to do it. And then as the loan transfers into 2021, the guarantee goes down depending on the size of the loan. So, and that's something that you don't really need to know as a business owner. It's just something that the lenders and SBA will be talking about. But I'm just kind of giving you some of the background. I know it's a little bit into the weeds a little bit. But the SBA disaster loan, just like a PPP, can be used for pretty much almost any entity that's federally regulated. Obviously, you can't use it for cannabis, can't use it for the risque businesses, can't use it for gambling unless your gambling is part of your company and it doesn't generate more than 1/3 of your total revenue. Then you can kind of use it. But this is really important for you to know. You could use these loans if you're a gig economy, you're a gig person. You have a bunch of gigs, like you would do Uber or Lyft or Airbnb, or you're a real estate agent, or you're a loan consultant, or you are a hairstylist or a nail lady or man. You could use it for any entity that you could possibly imagine as a Schedule C sole proprietor, as long as you file a Schedule C. If you started your business last year in 2019 and you are a Schedule C, meaning you don't have an entity like a C Corp, S Corp, LLC, or partnership, then if you start your business last year in 2019, the only way that SBA can verify your historical data is if you file your 2019 taxes. So they have access to it. Julie might say something different later, maybe it changed where you don't have to do that. You could just send in your income statement or P&L. But we'll see if we'll see what she says a little bit later, because things are changing dramatically super fast. So she may have a different update than I'm talking about. All right. So there is a loan payment deferral on the SBA loan. It's 11 months. So you don't have to make your payment until the first of the 12th month, which is really awesome. So you're good to go. All right. So now we'll go to the PPP. So the PPP. So you go to the next slide. All right. So it launches this Friday. So 2 days from now. And the feds came out last Friday and announced it, and then they didn't give us all the information that dissect enough to get it to you fast. But this is as much as we know now. And like I said, so what's going on is that lenders, like your local SBA lenders, a couple might be on the call that might speak later, but your local SBA lenders, they have the money that they're going to lend to you if you qualify, and if they even want to do these loans, because it's a choice. So they're going to reach out to you, or you're going to reach out to them. They're going to reach out to you. Some lenders are already calling clients, which is really awesome right now. But there's some technical terms technical terms that are used out there with loans, but you don't need to know too much about it. It's called SOPs, Standard Operating Procedures. It's like the Bible of what kind of loans they can do and they can't do, what's eligible, all that great stuff. You don't need to know that because you're the business owner, but the banks are putting together their credit policies right now to figure out how to do these loans, and if they want to do them, and if they want to do them, how they're going to be structured. They're trying to figure that out right now. They're working like crazy times to figure that out. Some of them are rewriting their credit policy as we speak, which is freaking nutty. Never been done before. These are unprecedented times, as we know. So the PPP launches Friday. It's not the economic injury disaster loan. It's a separate loan. There's $350 billion, or it's like 349, I think, $349 billion in total guarantee. That means that the Fed said that they're only going to back up to 100% guarantee currently at the $349 billion nationally. So it's essentially nationally $349 billion of loans will be issued to businesses for the PPP across the nation. They may increase that. They're probably going to be increasing it, but we don't know that at this time. So you need to confirm which lenders will participate. Kind of talked about that. Lenders need to decide if they want to, even do it. And then money used for specific reasons will be 100% forgiven. All right, next slide. So the money that will be forgiven is the money that you use for payroll. And it's payroll everything. Let me see. I'm gonna bring up the document so I can read off of it. Just one second. So it's payroll for anything. Let's see here. Sorry, just a second. Oh, gosh dang it. Okay, so here you go. Let's talk about this. Okay, so the Feds kind of messed things up, if you ask my opinion, because they launched another program called the PPP, as well as that is very, 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 very similar to the SBA EIDL loan, which is kind of weird. It makes it really tricky. So you can use a PPP for these things. And I know it's going to be confusing, but this is what you can use it for. You can use it for payroll costs, costs related to the continuation of group healthcare benefits during periods of paid, sick, medical, or family leave, and related to insurance premiums. Employees' salaries, commissions, or similar compensations. Mortgage payments if you own your building. Rent payments if you don't own your building. So rent or lease payments. Utilities, including internet, telephone, and lights, and whatever it takes are the utilities. And then interest on any other debt obligation that were incurred before February 15th, 2020. So these are the things you can use the PPP for. The eligibility, which on the slide, the only difference is there. So an SBA changed this too this last week. You could now do a tribal business concern. You could do a 501c 19 veterans organization. I'm not sure. I don't run one of those organizations, so I'm not sure what that is, but there's a lot of 501c's. The most important one, the one that we always talk about is 501c3, but there's about 50 C's that exist, 501c's that exist, and there's a 19 one that qualifies. Also, special cases for food service. NAICS is a national industry code. So if you're a NAICS on your 72 on your taxes, which that's where it would say it, you would qualify for some special cases under the PPP. Franchise or receive financial assistance from an SBIC, which is an investment company that is partially funded by SBA. And then normal affiliations do not apply. And then let's see here. So what's really confusing on the PPP and the SBA disaster loan is that those 7 things I just read off that you could use the money for. You can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is what lenders are looking for. So for the PPP, you have to be in operation before February 15, 2020. So you could have technically started your business at the beginning of this year and still qualify. The loan requests necessary to support ongoing operations. Loan proceeds for retain workers, maintain payroll, make mortgage payments. I kind of talked about that a little bit. Can't have another application in the process for a similar amount. Have not received any funds after February 15th for the same request. So what this means is there's a lot of questions going around. Can you apply for the EIDL, the SBA disaster loan, and the PPP at the same time? And the answer is yes. just the purpose of funds can't be for the same thing. Meaning, and this is why it's really tricky. Sorry, just a second. This is why it's really tricky, because since you can use the PPP to pay for payroll, mortgage, rent, utilities, all this other stuff, salaries, interest on existing debt, but the SBA disaster loan, you could do the same thing for that, right? So what I'm recommending, and this is just me personally, you can do what you want or take advice from other people, but this is what I'm recommending because it's way too confusing how to do this. If you did want to apply for both, I'm recommending that you only apply for the PPP for payroll, just payroll, like payroll costs, and then everything else I said, like employee salaries, commissions, or similar compensations. And then for the EIDL, the SBA disaster loan, I would apply for everything else. So this is how it works. With the SBA disaster loan, the EIDL, the way it works is you can apply. I'm not sure if there's an amount box that you can put on the application now. Julie might be able to tell me that later. But because before there wasn't a box where you could put how much you want. But the way that they're calculating the PPP is you take your payroll costs and then your costs associated with group health benefits during periods of sick, medical, family leave, and related health insurance premiums, and then employee salaries, commissions, or similar compensations. What you do is you take all those costs that you have monthly and you times it by 2.5, and that's what you can apply for. So here, Andy, I'm gonna send you something else real quick, and then because I don't have it on the slide, and then if you could show this on the screen, it'd be really cool. There you go, man. I'm gonna send it to you right now. So the PPP, so the PPP is, so he's going to show this to you. I just sent it. So what I'm recommending is that you only apply for the PPP for these 3 things that Andy's going to show on the next slide. And then everything else for your monthly expenses, you're going to apply for everything else, which I'll go over in a little bit after he shows this page. Okay, there you go. So what are the restrictions on the use of S7A loans? So like I said again, the PPP is going to be under the 7A loan product. So some people are calling it the new 7A, some people are calling it the PPP, but all it is saying is that SBA has like 15 different something like that loan programs that are under the 7A. Now there's a new one called the PPP, and that's also going to be under the 7A. So you can see from this slide, this thing that Andy's putting up here is that this is what you can apply for the PPP. But what I'm recommending is that you only apply for the PPP for the top 3 slash marks: the payroll costs, the costs related to the continuation of group health care and benefits, and then employee salaries, commissions, or similar compensations. And then everything else, your mortgage payments, your rent, your utilities, interest on you pay on any debt. Recommend that you roll that into the EIDL loan, the SBA loan, because there's more money there than there is in this PPP. There's probably gonna be a lot more money in there, but all right, thanks. You can go to the next slide. So the thing I wanted to talk about, actually, if you could just go to a blank slide, just stop showing that, so I can just talk about something that's not on the screen. There you go. Thanks. So what I want to talk about is that the way that you apply for the EIDL loan or the SBA disaster loan, the way that you apply for that is the amount that you qualify for is If you can do this right now as we speak, if you have QuickBooks, or you can do it if you call your bookkeeper or tax person and get this document that I'm going to talk to you about right now. If you have access to your 2019 profit and loss or income statement, whatever you want to call it, and you take all your COGS, if you have COGS, cost of goods. If you're a service business, you may not have a lot of COGS. But you take your COGS, cost of goods, you take that, and then you add all your operating expenses. So when you look at a P&L or income revenue statement, you have your sales revenue at the top, and then you have COGS if you have it. Then you have gross profit. Then you have all your operating expenses, which is everything it takes to run and operate your business, working capital. And then you have net profit or loss. That's how simple it is. I apologize, I don't have a visual, but that's how a P&L and income statement work. So you take all your operating expenses for 2019 and all your COGS, if you have them, cost of goods, you add them together, you divide by 2, and that's the loan amount that you can apply for the SBA disaster loan. It's 6 months worth of working capital of whatever it takes to run and operate your business, which is everything. Something that may not be on your P&L and income statement is your interest expense. It's the money that you pay, principal and interest, to loans that you have, like your building loan, or like a car loan, or vehicle loan, or a fintech loan, or somebody, or one of those crazy merchant card advance loans. If you took one of those, the monthly payments that you pay for those loans also get added into this monthly working capital number. So it's monthly working capital times 6, and that's what you get qualified for with SBA disaster loan. The PPP, I'd recommend you to only apply for those 3 things, and then times that by 2.5. You take your monthly cost for those 3 things, times by 2.5, and that's what you qualify for PPP. The SBA disaster loan is 6 months worth of working capital. If you need help trying to figure that out, and you can't do it as simple as I made it seem here, we're here to help you. We can do this for you, or with you, or we're not visiting anybody in person because we can't do that. So we're doing it all over like Zoom or Skype or email or text or phone, but we are here for you. We can help you with all of this. All right, so if you go to the next couple of slides. Somebody asked if I could repeat the formula. Okay, so the formula is you look at your 2019 year-to-date income statement, and you take all your COGS, if you have COGS, cost of goods. You take the total number of COGS. So year-to-date P&L is your whole year worth of expenses and operations. It's not just 1 month. So you take the COGS, you add your operating expenses. So like I mentioned, you have sales, and then you have COGS if you have COGS. If you don't have COGS, then it just goes sales and then operating expenses. But if you have COGS, you got COGS, cost of goods, and then you have your operating expenses. You take all your operating expenses. If you're looking at your P&L that your tax person helped you put together, the operating expenses are underneath the gross profit if you're looking at a document. And you take all your operating expenses for the whole year, and then you add back any interest and principal you paid on debt, because that's not necessarily, it may not be on your P&L or income statement because it's an add back. And then you add your total operating expenses and your total COGS together, and you divide by 2. That's the formula. All right, so we go to the next couple slides, and I'm almost done talking because I know that SBA is here too. So, and I know we're gonna have a bunch of questions. You go to the next one too, please. Oh, so what they're not looking for. So the PPP has some nuances that are different than the SBA disaster loan. So the PPP, you don't have to show that you try to get credit elsewhere, meaning you try to go get money elsewhere. SBA is becoming a lot more lenient on this. Originally, a couple years ago, they launched that, or a couple weeks ago, they said that you would have to show that you try to get credit elsewhere. They're being very lenient on that now. So, but the PPP, you don't have to even try to get credit elsewhere. And then there's a misspelling in this document because I didn't check it before, so I apologize. But personnel is supposed to be personal. So a personal guarantee is not required on the loan. And that is crazy ridiculous because there's no SBA 7A lender out there that does not ask for a personal guarantee. For anybody that owns 20% or more of the business, they have to give a personal guarantee. For the SBA disaster loan, you have to give a personal guarantee for anyone that is 20% or more ownership of your company. But this PPP, you don't have to for whatever reason, but you just don't have to. So some of the rules that you thought you knew that existed for SBA lending, they all changed. They all changed yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever. Whatever you thought wasn't possible is probably possible. The fact that SBA opened up these loans, these disaster loans to people that have Airbnbs or people that own investor real estate and they have tenants is crazy ridiculous, because in the non-eligibility list of SBA, it says you can't have a passive income business. And now you can, which is crazy, but it's really awesome. What it's telling you is that SBA is here to help everyone, as much people as they can, and as much business entities and structures as they can. So there's no collateral required in the loan, which is also crazy because most SBA lenders always ask for collateral, meaning they want to tap into your house, they want to put a lien on your building, on your equipment, on your kids, everything. They just want to put a lien on everything. So there's no collateral, no personal guarantee, only for the PPP. I'm talking about the PPP, I'm not talking about SBA disaster loan. So there's some nuances that are a little bit different. All right, next slide, please. All right, so how much you can borrow. So I kind of went into this a little bit. So the SBA disaster loan, currently at this time, unless Julie says something different, the max loan you can do, the minimum loan is $5,000. The max loan is $2 million. $2 million is your max loan that you can apply for at SBA, regardless of how much money you need. $2 million is the max. The PPP, the max is $10 million, which is also really crazy that they're doing these loans at $10 million. Usually, the SBA has a max of $5 million for these SBA 7A loans, but $10 million usually only doesn't exist unless you're buying a building or a piece of equipment. But now you can go up to $10 million to pay for your payroll. Stupid nutty, but things are going great right now. SBA is helping a lot of people out. So for businesses not operational in 2019, you can take 2.5 times your total monthly payroll costs. So if you didn't start until 2020, you could take 2.5 times your total monthly costs incurred for January and February, and that's the number that you use. Seasonal employers, there's so many nuances. There's so many nuances of what's going on with the PPP that I don't know about today because I'm not a payroll expert. And if you try to read the bill that they wrote on this thing, that's 800 pages. It's a little hard to dissect some of that information. So I don't have those answers, but I do know one guy in California that does, and he's going to be on a call with our team later this week, I think tomorrow, and I can get you guys the link for that. I'll send it to Andy if you want to jump on another Zoom. I know there's a lot of webinars, but there's also a lot of information we got to get out to you very quickly. So seasonal employers, 2.5 times average total monthly payments for payroll costs for the 12-week period beginning February 15th or March 1st and ending June 30th. So there's a lot of particular intricacies on what you can use the money for in the PPP. And if you had people full-time before the crisis and then you laid them off and then you brought them back and then you want to take that expense, there's a bunch of nuances that I don't know that Julie might know, but there's this other guy named Mark Herbert from Small Business Majority, and he knows because he read the bill. All right, so next slide. Okay. This is so I didn't create this slide particular. Somebody else put this together for me. This one slide, but this is, you could just read this, and Andy, you could just leave this up, and people can read it. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't really know. Like I mentioned, I don't know the intricacies. I only know the intricacies of the loans, but not specific payroll questions and how to utilize it the best way you can utilize it. But not to confuse you on the phone, you will see on here that you can use the PPP for everything else on here: rent, payments, utilities, borrowers, tips, employees, all this other stuff. And you may think, well, I'm going to go apply for this because it's forgivable, for the rest of the year, and I'm not going to apply for SBA. Well, I would say that you should rethink that strategy, but you can do what you want. It's your business. It's not mine, so I get it. And then the other thing is the PPP. I didn't talk about it on here. The PPP, if the lenders will lend to you the money, it's at 4%. The SBA disaster loans at 3.75 for 30 years. I think the triple P is 4% for 10 years, but you're going to talk with your lender and see what they're doing. Maybe they're changing their credit policy and they're going to extend it 20 years to help you out, but I don't know. That's per lender. The lenders have all the control in doing the lending to their best ability, and their credit team has to be okay with it. For the triple P, it has nothing to do with SBA. SBA is just backing it, and they have to check some boxes for eligibility to see if it's okay that you can get 100% backed a guarantee on the loan that you're going to issue to what person you're going to issue it to it. But it doesn't has nothing to do with SBA, like if the lender will do the loan or not to you, besides a little bit of eligibility. But that's nothing on you. That's everything on the lender and SBA. But every decision for the triple P comes from the lender. Every decision for the EIDL loan or SBA disaster loan comes from SBA, because it's their money that they're giving to you as a loan, a business loan. And the triple P comes from the lender, like your local everyday lenders. I haven't heard of any local lenders offering these loans to people, but I know we have some local lenders on the call, I think, and I've heard a lot of big banks stepping up to the plate, which is rare because big banks struggle to finance small businesses. But and maybe there's a big bank on the call, and if you are, I apologize, you're on the call. But what I want to say is that Wells Fargo, US Bank, Chase, the top 5 big banks right now are stepping up, and I heard they're calling their clients, which is awesome. And they're starting to take applications on the triple P before it even launches, which is Friday. So that's really cool. And we just need all hands on deck, and we just need to help you as small business owners, and we are here for you at no cost. SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. My name is Scott Rogalski. I'm from NorCal Finance Center, SBDC, and I throw it over to Julie now. Yeah, you could just go to the last slide, or just don't show anything. You can go to Julie. I'll go to Julie now. So we have Julie Clowes. She's the SBA District Director for the San Francisco office in San Francisco. She's working from home today, or every day now. And she's here, and her time is valuable, as all of our time is valuable. And she is here to talk to you, which usually doesn't happen. SBA, they're not really customer facing. We do all the work for them on the customer facing part. I'm probably digressing a little bit. I apologize. Julie Clowes, you're on the call. Go ahead and start talking.
So hi, Andy. Did you want me to start now or wait? Was there another speaker?
We've got a local lender here, and his name is Robert Gernert with the EDFC, and I'm going to quickly pull him in just to talk about, because he's based in Ukiah, Mendocino County, and we've just got a quick bit of information on his program through the Mendocino Economic Development Finance Corporation. So I'm going to quickly toss it over to Robert, and then Julie, we're gonna definitely we have lots of questions, specific questions to both the PPP and the economic injury disaster loan. So we definitely want to make sure that we carve out time to answer those questions once you're on the line. But I'm going to quickly just go ahead and bring in Robert Gernert. And again, he's with the Mendocino Economic Development Finance Corporation out of Ukiah. Robert, are you on the line? Sure can.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Andy. Thanks to everybody who joined in. My name is Robert Gernert. I'm the Lending Relations Manager with the Economic Development and Financing Corporation here in Ukiah. And I'm just here to share a little bit about our disaster assistance loan program. Basically, this was introduced in response to a lot of the fires and the PSPS and other things that Mendocino County and Lake County have run into challenges with as business owners and a need in our community. And it also covers major health events. So everything falls under this category right now. And as you can see on the screen, the highlights include a maximum loan amount of $50,000. So we're able to do $50,000 in-house with a small loan committee approval. The interest rate can go down as low as 3%. We are not at that point, or at this point, making any interest income on those loans. The loan has to be paid back to the USDA. So that is their rate of repayment for us. So we're making nothing on it. And so with us, we want to be able to help businesses. And we do have the possibility to waive any application fees and closing costs. So we just, like I said, we did this in response to help support small businesses in Lake and Mendocino County. And if your business, which all of our businesses have been affected negatively by, ceasing business entirely, you have the option to apply. If you need a smaller amount of money, we don't have as robust a system or a capital pool as the SBA lenders and stuff like that. But what we're looking to do is try to just keep people who need a smaller amount of money or possibly bridge a time gap maybe in funding through the SBA if possible, to keep things kind of stabilized in their businesses and help them out however we can. So that's really the basics there. I don't know if there's anything you want me to clarify on that more, or it's pretty straightforward.
Right. Thank you, Robert. And just for the audience, for folks listening in, we wanted to let you know that the Robert's program may be more expeditious than, say, an SBA loan. Obviously, there is a cap amount and then the interest rate, but they serve Lake County and with Robert, and they are great. They're here to help. So I wanted to just reiterate that. And then also, Robert brings up a good point. We're all struggling. So there are different financial institutions such as Umpqua Bank, Redwood Credit Union that are offering different either small loan programs or deferrals. So we would encourage businesses and residents to talk with your creditors, talk with your landlords. Again, we're all in this together, and many creditors are offering deferrals, or they will work with you, but you have to reach out to them and communicate with them. The contact information for Robert is here on the screen. I do want to let everybody know that this webinar is being recorded. The slides and other information will be distributed to those folks that have provided their contact information. So we will get this information out to you as quick as we can. But there is the the caveat that obviously this information is changing rapidly. So thank you, Robert. Want to say thanks to Scott Rogalski as well. And we will go ahead and toss it over to Julie Clowes with the Small Business Administration, and she's going to cover a lot of the information that Scott had already covered, but with more specificity, I think, on the payment protection program and so on. And we've definitely got some questions for you, Julie. So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen now, and hopefully that will allow you to go ahead and share your information. Take it away, Julie. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Andy. I will do my best to try to add more detail. As Scott alluded to, we are still in a kind of a fluid situation. Sorry, I lost my cursor. And we are still learning new information every single day. So I'll share with you what I know today, with the caveat that more information is still coming out especially about the PPP program, and also kind of what the nuances are going to be between the PPP and the EIDL program, which has been in existence in California at least for several weeks now. So I apologize in advance that I'm probably not going to be able to address everybody's question, but happy to work with Andy and team in Lake County to gather that information and make sure we get those answers out to you as soon as we are able to. I'm going to try not to repeat stuff Scott said, but maybe add a little bit of clarifying points. I also wanted to back up a little bit because there is another piece of financial assistance available that I just kind of want to throw out there so that you know. And I'm putting this under the bucket of debt deferment or relief. And so for many of you, since I know with Lake and potentially Mendocino County folks on the line, if you've been impacted by one of the previous disasters, such as the wildfires or some of the flooding that occurred in the last couple of years, and you already have an existing SBA disaster loan, your payments on those loans are automatically being deferred through December 31st of this year. So you don't need to do anything about that. It happened automatically. So that's one piece of relief that's already in play. The second kind of relief bucket I want to talk about, or program, is if you have an existing SBA debt through S7A program, through the 504 program, or through any of our micro lenders, those end organizations have the ability to defer your payments as well. And it varies a little bit between program, but I encourage you to talk to your lender if you haven't already and ask them for deferment if that's what you need right now. The other one, this is in the new program, if you will, as a result of the CARES Act legislation that was just signed into law on Friday, is the SBA Debt Relief Program. So I don't have a whole lot of information on this one yet, but what it entails is for any new 7A loans, we're talking about the normal traditional 7A loans, not the PPP program, just our regular 7A loans that always exist. If you are getting a 7A loan prior to September 27th of this year, or you have a current 7A loan, we are paying principal and interest on those late payments for up to 6 months right now. And so the way you would tap into that is to work with your 7A lender who issued the loan. They are starting to get more information, the lending community, about what they need to do to tap into this, but you as the borrower just need to start that conversation with your lender, and then your lender is going to do the paperwork and what they need to do with SBA in order to make this happen. So I want to toss out also the regular 7A program. I think I saw a question on this in the chat, on the Express Bridge Loan Program. So this is available $25,000 or less, Express Bridge Loan from our Express SBA lenders. And they are able to do streamlined paperwork. It's a faster process for them. And it's a way to help push out a loan up to $25,000 more quickly. Some people like to use this as stopgap funding if they're applying for other tranches of money that may take a little bit longer. But I know what everyone really wants to talk about is the PPP and the EIDL program that Scott spoke about. So I will give you the PPP. Like I said, it was just announced yesterday afternoon that it'll officially launch on Friday. So in the meantime, we're still working with our lending partners since they are going to be our delivery mechanism on getting them up to speed, making sure that the process and all of the behind the scenes stuff that you as borrowers don't necessarily see, but that the interface between SBA and the lenders, making sure all of that's solidified and everybody knows the process. So that's happening now, which is why it's not open for prime time just yet. For any bankers that are on the call that have questions, I know more messaging is coming out, I hope today. And a lot of it stuff will be coming through some of the trade groups such as NAGL and NAGCO, and then SBA is going to also start doing direct training with lenders. So what I can tell you about PPP right now is that the purpose behind this program is really to incentivize small businesses to keep their workers on payroll, or if you have already had to furlough or lay off people, to bring them back. So as Scott talked about, it's targeted on payroll and those associated expenses. The information that you're seeing on these slides is information I grabbed directly from our SBA website. And I will, I have links at the end too, but I do encourage you to maybe bookmark that page if you haven't already. It's sba.gov. That's all you really need to remember, because at the top of the screen is the banner to take you to the EIDL loan application directly, and then right underneath it is the link to all these other program information, including PPP. And this website gets updated throughout the day. So right now with the PPP program, I don't have a lot of the details about how you're going to be able to do the math to see how much will qualify for you. I do know that the period of time is going to be from February 15th through June 30th, so it is going to be retroactive back to February 15th. So if you did lay off workers and you're able to rehire them before June 30th, that'll qualify in the PPP program for financing. I do have some updates. I'm going to update what Scott provided on some of the details. This has changed a little bit. So the eligible businesses are what Scott talked about, and the maximum is still 10 million, but the interest rate is actually going to be 0.5%. So, and the term is 2 years. We are deferring payments for up to 6 months on this one. And then the reason these terms are very different from any other 7A program is that we are giving 100% guarantee to the banks. So there's no collateral requirement, there's no personal guarantee, and there's no additional fees associated with. So the borrower or lender fees that normally attach to an SBA 7A loan are not going to be charged to the borrower, at least. SBA is paying those fees. So I know this isn't a whole lot yet, and I know you have 1.5 million questions, as do I. So I ask for a little bit of patience to get more information. Some of the questions I'm not going to be able to answer just because I don't want to give out bad information. There's so much out there right now from a lot of different sources that I encourage you to be a little bit patient and wait for this information to come out from SBA. The fact that we are launching an entirely new program in a week is pretty unprecedented in and of itself. So I ask that you wait for that so that I can answer your questions and give you the right information so that you can make the best decisions for your business. I do want to talk, Scott, a little bit about EIDL. Scott covered a lot of it and alluded, or showed you actually, that the new application is up and running. So the one thing I want to tell borrowers or potential borrowers, if you completed an EIDL application already prior to Monday of this week, and you submitted it either using the old online application, or you did the paper version and mailed it in, or emailed it in, or used the Dropbox as on the website, you should be getting an email. You should have already had it. If you don't, it should be coming out this week. That will tell you that now you also have the option to apply for this $10,000 EIDL advance loan. This is a new piece or new enhancement, if you will, to the EIDL loan program that was authorized by the CARES Act of last Friday. So we've been able to make that available as of really Sunday, late Sunday night, Monday morning. But for people who have already applied, you can still apply for that. And if you would like that 10,000 advance, we're asking you to please go into the new online application that's up right now and apply. You'll see inside that application, there's like a huge checkbox that says, I'd like the 10,000 advance loan. The nice thing about this 10,000, up to $10,000 advance is that this portion of the EIDL loan is forgivable. So not the whole EIDL loan was not forgivable, but this up to $10,000 EIDL advance portion is also a forgivable loan. So I'm trying to think if there's other updates. Scott did a good job of going through some of the requirements. When you do, if you apply to the old online application and you look at the new one, you will see it is extremely streamlined. There's not a lot of questions. Everything is online through the portal. You just answer the questions. At that time, you don't necessarily have to upload any additional documentation. You're going to, but I'd encourage you to really read through the application as you're going through it, because you are going to be making a lot of self-certifications. And so that's how we're going to test that what you're submitting is true and accurate. And then we'll also likely be looking at your tax returns on the back end. So I'm going to show you, you saw the screenshots that Scott had on there. And I just wanted to show you, Scott was talking about the first two, the very first, like the landing page. So this was what you'll see when you click on this direct link, COVID-19 relief at sba.gov. It'll take you here. And then if you could scroll down that page, you're gonna see the two sets of questions to verify. One, first, you're a small business of some sort that qualifies. And the second box is the review of, to verify you are not in one of our ineligible industries. So while your form of business is not so important, anybody from sole proprietor all the way up through C corporations are eligible to apply, there are some industries which are not eligible to apply right now. And Scott talked a little bit about the gambling concerns and the proportion of your revenue derived from gambling. Illegal activities, and I always have to note this because we are in California, that cannabis is still illegal at the federal level. So any cannabis businesses are not eligible to apply for this program. I know there are other resources out there for cannabis businesses. So if that's your line of business, we can help connect you with some of the other resources that are out there. But unfortunately, this program is not, you're not eligible. Lenders are not eligible, and some other groups are not eligible. But for the most part, nearly every small business is going to be eligible for this program. So the second box below here, which is just your certification that you are not in one of these ineligible businesses. And that's why it's important that you read through and check them all off. Otherwise, you might not be able to advance. But when you do advance, you just start going into a series of questions. And you'll see there's just a little workflow at the top that just shows you how you go through. And you just answer the questions and hit the submit button at the end. And when you submit, you will automatically get a confirmation that your application was received, and it'll give you your number, confirmation number. The way this $10,000, if you check the box and said, yes, I would like to get the up to $10,000 advance, that is something we're being able to push out much more quickly than the regular entire EIDL loan request. Those we're targeting to get the $10,000 advance out within three to 5 business days. So this is the very first week that this is happening. So I don't have any real-time data to share on that just yet, but when you go in, you'll see the application is very streamlined, it's very quick, and we have enhanced our ability to do this by bringing in some additional resources to help support this effort because of the vast need and the ability to get this money out to you as quickly as possible. One thing I want to point out is a tip, if you will, when you're completing this online application, is you can see on the screen there's a series of little red lines next to some of these questions. So like the first one is business legal name. Obviously that's a required question for you to answer. And when you do, this little red line should flip to green. So when some people have called me and said they had a hard time moving to the next page, and asked them to go back and look, are all the red lines flipped to green? Because if they're not, you may have missed a question and it's not letting you advance until you answer that question. I unfortunately don't have screenshots for every single page in here, but as you can see, just from the workflow, it's pretty short. And there's a page, I think it's the next one over, business owner information and additional information next to, that will start to ask you some finance questions. And it'll be some of the things that Scott talked about, like what was your revenue from last year? What were your cost of goods sold, your number of employees, your employee expenses, and that kind of thing. And it's just really quick information. So as a way to prepare for this, you have already is to gather that information. If you got your, finances, your P&L, balance sheet from last year, your tax returns, just have that information readily available to you so that when you go in and to complete this application, you've got your documents for reference, and you should be able to go through this, type in your answers, and submit very quickly. I've had a couple businesses do it on Monday that reported back to me, and they said it didn't take anybody more than 30 minutes to complete. So it is pretty quick and straightforward. The other thing, so that's back to this, I think I covered all of the updates. This, and as Scott said, because this is a loan directly from SBA, SBA is going to be the entity that reaches out to you to close the loan. So what will happen is you will, submit, get your confirmation, and then SBA will reach back out via email. So the email, make sure you put in the email address that you check all the time, because that's how we're gonna, at least initially, communicate with you. We will send you the email back that says, yay, you're approved, and the closing documentation, or how you can access the closing documentation online. So please make sure you use an email address that you are able to check every day, and watch for that confirmation from SBA to come to you via email, and the next steps. And as Scott said, these payments can be deferred for 11 to 12 months right now. So the goal is to get the money out to you, enable you to have some working capital so you can either continue to operate and or bring back employees, and then not have to worry about the repayments affecting your cash flow until later in the year. So I'm going to go back to the two more slides, just a little bit more about resources. SBA, we are open for business, albeit like everyone else, we're following, the shelter in place and the social distancing practices in place right now. So I would say the best way to reach us is email. We have a general email box, this sfomail@sba.gov, that we're using to do our intake and route it to the team so that we can answer your questions and or connect you to other resources as quickly as possible. We are flipping everything to webinars like everybody else. And the fastest way to learn information from us, if you don't want to keep checking sba.gov, is to maybe sign up for our newsletter. Our local newsletter here in San Francisco, we cover Santa Cruz up to the Oregon border. So I'm pretty sure everybody dialing in today is in our service area. If you sign up for our newsletter, we will be pushing information out to you, whether it's about webinars we think you might be interested in, and also the updates to these programs as they become available. Like Scott said, things are moving like 100 miles an hour, and we're trying to push out accurate information to you as soon as we have it available. Here's also a list of resources, and this can be shared afterwards, so you don't have to scribble madly to take all this information down. I'm happy to share it, and I can leave it up for a little bit unless there's another speaker we want to get to and I have to stop sharing my screen. But do you want to take questions right now, Andy, or hold off?
Yeah, why don't we take just a couple of questions, and we can open it up to all of the panel, which also includes Sid Harper with Savings Bank of Mendocino County, who will be speaking next. But why don't we take a couple of questions right now, specific for probably the SBA, and any other panelists that have answers. Feel free to chime in. The first question, and some of these, excuse me. The first question, and some of these may have been covered already, but we have a lot of people on the call, and hard to tell, if everybody's getting a good signal, all that fun stuff. So just real quick, on the the turnaround time for the SBA loans, Julie. How quickly would businesses receive funds? And you already kind of covered the term, but what's the turnaround time? And I know that, you know, SBA is being inundated, but do you have a feel for that?
Yes, so for the EIDL advance of up to 10,000, our goal is turn it around in 3 days. For the rest of the EIDL loan, the you know, other chunks of money that up to the $2 million, the processing on that we're saying is, you know, upwards of 2 to 3 weeks, and then they will reach back out to the borrower to do the closing, and that process works as quickly as the borrowers are responsive to SBA. So closing, you know, can take about a week.
Okay.
The PPP program, I don't know yet because that will be operated through the lenders. So as soon as, I'm sure as soon as our lenders have a better understanding of what they're going to need to do, they'll be able to add some insight onto how long they think the process will take.
Okay, great. And a question with regard to the businesses that may have laid off or directed their employees to go ahead and go and enroll on unemployment. You know, there was direction a couple weeks ago. Obviously, these things are changing. But, you know, as far as the Paycheck Protection Program, if a business wanted to apply for that and they've already sort of instructed their employees to go on unemployment, if they rehire or get those folks back on the payroll quickly, they're still eligible for that payment protection program. Is that true?
Yes, yes. The goal is to either retain the current employees or to bring back ones that they have let go. So absolutely.
Great. And I think, you know, we're all on the call trying to figure out how do we keep our you know, employees on the payroll and keep the doors open. Right now, we have a quick question, and I think it's already been answered with regard to the governor of California and his executive order on rents due to folks. I'm not sure if anybody on the panel can answer that, but if you go to www.gov.ca.gov, you can take a look at what the executive order to protect renters and homeowners during the COVID-19 pandemic is, and there's information there. I'm not sure if any of the panelists have any information on that they could share.
I don't have specifics. I do know I've been on webinars with some of the Isabel Guzman and some state folks in the last week, and the one website they're trying to, I think, corral all this information for California is, let me do this from memory, covid19.ca.gov. So I believe that's the website they're using to help get people to all of this information, whether it be, you know, about the renters and mortgage and unemployment and all of the different issues.
Great, and yeah, there's a lot of information out there, so folks just, you know, have to bear with us all as we try to get it out to you. And there's a question here, information for nonprofits. Now, I think you covered this already, but nonprofits are eligible for the economic injury disaster loans. Are they eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program?
Yes, in both cases, they are eligible for either program. I do know with the PPP program, it's limited to nonprofits who are organized as a 501c3 or a 501c19. Those are the two categories. So there are some categories of nonprofits, such as unfortunately chambers of commerce, which I think are 501c6s, are not eligible for PPP. But if you are a different category of nonprofit, not a 501c3 or 19, you may want to check with the EIDL program, because you may qualify under that for some of your financial needs.
Very good, thank you for that. And how about S Corps? We have a question here about an S Corp with a small number of employees. Are they eligible for the payment protection program?
Yes, yes, your form of business doesn't matter. And sole proprietors, all the up through C Corp, S Corp, any of it.
Okay. And so I wanted to ask, just your opinion, Julie, with regard to small businesses. Lake County's very rural. We got a lot of people from actually around the country on the call, so we want to thank them, everybody for joining in. On the PPP and the EIDL, kind of trying to compare one to the other, do you have a feel for which one may be best, which one may be easier to maneuver for these small businesses, which one may be, kind of more preferential? Is there any guidance you can provide, or maybe any of the panelists? And I know that it depends, one of these answers, but I see you nodding your head there, Julie.
Yeah, I think every business owner is going to want to do their own compare and contrast, because I don't think you can categorically say one or the other is going to best suit every business. One thing I'm encouraging businesses to do now to kind of get ready for the PPP is to look at your business expenses right now and kind of itemize out and look at how much do you spend on payroll and associated payroll expenses, like if you offer healthcare benefits and other things. And then what kind of other expenses do you have? And look at those numbers to see, okay, am I payroll heavy? I mean, some businesses might really, maybe their biggest monthly expense is payroll because they have a lot of employees, but they don't have a lot of other overhead or other expenses. For other businesses, it might be the exact opposite. They may not have a lot of employees, but maybe they have a lot of expenses that they need to pay on a monthly basis. So I think it's kind of looking at what you have as your expenses, and then having a good handle on that. And then when the PPP details, when the rest of those details are available, you'll be able to kind of more quickly compare and run your own numbers to say, okay, if I applied under PPP, this is what I would probably get. And this portion of it is forgivable. Okay, let me do the same scenario under EIDL. I can get, maybe this $10,000 advance plus this other tranche of money. The $10,000 will be forgivable. This other part of the loan I will be paid back, but under, pretty favorable terms at 3.75% over 30 years, deferred for 12 months. So I think it's going to, kind of then be the math game to figure out which of these programs is going to be more advantageous for your specific need. And the resource partner, Scott, right? You guys are going to stand ready to help with that?
I think
Okay.
Scott might be muted, but
sorry, I'm here. I'm just saying. I'm just talking. I'm just multitasking too much. But I am here. Did you guys have a question? I apologize.
No, I was just talking about what businesses can do right now to prepare in anticipation of PPP, and trying to figure out which program is going to be more advantageous is kind of running the numbers and looking at where their largest tranche of expenses is, whether it's in the payroll side or whether it's on other types of expenses, so that they can then, when we have the full details on PPP, be able to do the math and see which program is more advantageous. And I'm offering up our resource partners to help with that.
So I am here for you, and my team is here for you, but I'm not supposed to give you my cell phone anymore. I got in trouble for doing that. And I'm not supposed to give you my email anymore. So, because I'm getting inundated, but I have a team in Humboldt State, which is where I'm employed by. They let me hire 25 new people, so I'm going to have them this week. So there's enough people here for you, and they're being educated by me. And the messaging is going to be clear and concise and consistent, but we're building it as we're talking it to you right now. We're building the airplane as we're flying it. And, but we're here. We're gonna figure all this out for you, because we have to. We don't have a choice. We have to. We're paid to help you at no cost, because SBA pays us to do that. Thank you. You paying your federal tax dollars so that we can be here for you at no cost. Yes, I can help you do all the mathematical equations you want to do if you want to dissect it and figure it out. There's probably 100 different ways that you can apply for the PPP and the SBA disaster loan as far as the number that you use for what you use for. But would just say that what I talked about earlier, if you remember, or if I was speaking not so fast, I said that there's not a lot of money for the PPP. I mean, 350 billion is not a lot of money for nationally for 30 million businesses. So they're going to run out of money pretty fast. And maybe they're going to inject more into this, but we don't know that yet. Right, Julie? They haven't said they're going to inject more in it yet?
Correct. I have not heard that. I haven't heard anything one way or the other on that.
Yeah. So, so somebody just put in the chat, the tricky part is that you can't use idle funds, which is SBA echelon, or triple P funds for the same purpose. So that's the tricky part. So it seems like all right, I'm not going to read the rest of that, so it is a very tricky thing to figure out. I agree with you. But we're here, and we have SBA that we can call. Like Julie is readily available. And then I have another Julie. Her name is Heather, and she's in Sacramento. So like, there's two of these people that are really here to help us and answer these questions and help us figure this out. They have financial backgrounds and banking, lending backgrounds, so we can essentially think like a lender or a bank and help them figure this out and help a lot of things. So we can help you with your financials. That's what I'm trying to say. Julie recommended something very, very good where, we can help you dissect that and figure that out and where to go find those numbers. And since our bookkeepers and CPAs are also really, 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 really busy, they may not be able to answer your question. So guess what? Scott and his team, me and my team, we get to become CPAs and bookkeepers overnight. Isn't that exciting? It's so exciting. So we're here for you.
And one thing I will add, which is why I just encourage you to get prepared right now, is I don't have a lot of information yet on how the two programs, PPP and EIDL, are going to interact with each other. I know there was a question earlier about, like, can I apply for both? And my answer back to you right now is maybe, but I want to see a little bit more information about how they're going to, what they're going to say about the interplay between the two programs and the eligibility of applying for both before I give any definitive answers on that.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Just a couple of quick questions. So we have a sole proprietor / independent contractor offering a service. They have no employees, so their current options, it sounds like to me, are the PPP, which again, that application opens on April 3rd. Is the economic injury disaster loan an option as well?
Yes, if they're a sole proprietor and they have expenses that they have maybe not been able to cover because of COVID-19, yes, that's kind of the baseline criteria right there.
Perfect. And if folks have already filled out these applications and submitted them, as things change, there's no need for them to resubmit, or if they have completed the application, all those lines that you mentioned earlier turn green and it was accepted. Is there anything that they should do other than sort of prepare for some sort of response from the SBA on these programs?
Not right now. Like, just make sure you're checking your email, of course. But if you did the new application as of Monday of this week, and you elected that you would like to be get the EIDL advance of up to 10,000, yeah, just watch your email, because that response time, I mean, today is Wednesday, so by either today or tomorrow, those first few applicants should start getting their answers back. So I would definitely say just, watch your email for that, and for the follow-up instructions, which will likely be, please read through the closing documents and sign and return back to us.
Okay, and maybe this, Julie or some of the other panelists may have some information on this, but with regard to small farms and agricultural operations, is there any guidance that you have on eligibility for those folks with or without employees?
Yeah, for if they're there's a lot of nuances when it comes to farmers, so I hate to categorically say no, yes or no. I love people to talk through their specific situations with us, but typically under EIDL, if you're just a grower or you're just managing, you know, a farm like a dairy herd or something, you might not be eligible for EIDL, but there's complementary programs from USDA and Farm Services. So I'm starting to get a little bit more up to speed on what they're able to offer right now that's COVID-19 related as well. So if we're not the right fit because you don't qualify, we'll try to get you to the programs that are there to that you would qualify for. I'm not 100% certain on PPP just yet. I haven't seen anything specifically including or excluding farmers, traditional farmers at this point. So I have to check on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, why don't we introduce Sid Harper with the Savings Bank of Mendocino County. They are local to Lake County, Mendocino County. They cover a fair region here in Northern California. Sid is a loan officer with them, and Julie and the rest of the panelists, please stay on because I'm sure we'll have some more questions. But why don't we go ahead and toss it over to Sid just to talk a little bit about what Savings Bank is doing right now and how they're helping their customers with getting through all this. Sid?
All right, great. Thanks, Andy. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, perfect. So, yes, thank you for the introduction, Andy. Yes, I'm one of the commercial lenders here with Savings Bank. And first and foremost, I just want to commend what the SBA has been doing in response to all this. The new program that they're pushing through, the EIDL loans with the cash advance, it's very apparent with all of the work that they've been doing in such a short amount of time that their #1 goal is to get money out to business owners and to the employees. So I just want to make sure that Julie and Scott and everybody who's associated with all that gets the accolades there, because this is monumental. And from a small business lending standpoint, that is what is going to make a huge difference for a lot of our community members. I apologize, I don't have any pre-made slides or anything like that, so whatever Andy is pulling up there, I hope will help. We do have some information. He's bringing up our main web page, which does have some information on how we're handling the COVID situation here. We are on constant webinars with our banking association, the American Bankers Association, as well as SBA, so that way we can get as much information out to our borrowing base and our community as quickly as possible. Just a couple things that I want everybody to be aware of, whether or not you're a customer of Savings Bank or you bank somewhere else. First and foremost, if you already have any loans right now, any sort of term financing, so like equipment loans or property loans or anything like that, speak to your lender right away, because 99.9% of lenders right now are offering some sort of deferment process. That sheet that Andy brought up earlier, showcasing what Umpqua was doing, 90-day deferrals, Savings Bank right now, we are also offering some deferral payments for a lot of our businesses. Our time frame is kind of up in the air, but we're pretty much shooting for about 180-day deferrals on principal and interest payments for our borrowers, just to make sure that we can weather everything as these shelter-in-places seem to be expanded out longer than anticipated. So first and foremost, if you have any loans, please go talk to your lender and see what options are out there. Most of them, like I said, are deferring payments for at least 90 days, if not further. Also, some other things that a lot of banks are doing are waiving things such as overdraft fees, ATM fees, and things like that. So speak to your local banker, see what options are out there. We are just as involved in everything else to make sure that everybody gets through this situation with as little damage as possible. So with that, that's pretty much the overview of what Savings Bank is doing at this point. We are an approved SBA lender, so I just want anybody who's local to know that Savings Bank is a 7A lender. So we will be offering these PPP loans. So we have some information on those. We'll be sending out email notices to people who have inquired about it. I myself have taken about 100 phone calls over these past 2 days. So as if you are looking for information about the PPP program, because again, that will be a direct loan from a local lender, give me a phone call, shoot me an email, and we will put you on the list so we can communicate that information out as we receive it. Yeah, so a couple things that I just want to touch on. A lot of the questions that have been coming through that I've been receiving from borrowers. Great job answering those. And Julie, thank you for a lot of clarification. Bottom line that I am kind of letting people know about with these 2 loan programs is really just have your information readily available. Have your payroll expenses broken out. Have your payroll taxes broken out, your workers' comp payments, any sort of benefits that you may pay for your employees. Have all those things delineated very clearly and include those other expenses such as rent or mortgage payments and utility expenses, because like Julie said, at the end of the day, once we have better guidance on how to process all of these, that is going to determine if you're applying just for the PPP or you're doing the EIDL loan concurrently with it. And identifying those expenses will help you figure out which route to go. Because if you're only looking at 2.5 times your monthly average payroll expenses, but your rent expense or your utility expenses could be covered under the PPP, but maybe dollars-wise it's not sufficient, you should probably go for the EIDL loan. Or maybe you don't have that much in the way of utility costs, and so you're looking for that loan forgiveness with the PPP. So really have your numbers broken out and detailed, so that way you can sit down with a lender even and kind of go over what you are experiencing for your business and what would be the best route. That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of stuff. My banking association, we had a conference call yesterday, and based on the representation that they have with the White House and all that, it does sound like the government will be ready to replenish this fund that they've already set aside for the PPP on those guarantees. So it is first come, first served because there's the cap, but I can't imagine based on the feedback I'm hearing from our banking association that the government wouldn't look at replenishing that threshold for future borrowing requests. I just can't foresee that happening because of how many people are being impacted by this. So that's pretty much what I've got. My contact information, if you need to email me, it's my first initial last name. So it's sharper@savingsbank.com. Spells the word sharper at savingsbank.com. And of course, you can call in to Savings Bank directly at area code 707-462-6613 and ask to speak to me, and we'll get you on the list, and we will be able to answer questions as we get more information that's communicated to us from SBA on how to process these PPP loans.
Great, thank you, Sid. Really do appreciate the information, especially here, for Lake County, Mendocino County folks that are joining us today. If I can, I'd like to go ahead and open it back up to the panelists here real quick. I've got a couple of quick questions, and then what I'm going to try and do is share my screen to pull up some of those documents that Sid was referencing with regard to application, what you're going to need for these applications. The first question to any of the panelists that wish to answer, is there a waiver or a potential for a waiver to an employer from having to pay 12 weeks of family leave with regard to this COVID-19 situation. Does anybody, Julie?
I don't know on that one. Hopefully when we get some of the more detailed guidance, maybe we'll address that issue. But I can note that question and look into that.
Okay, great. Does anybody else have any information on that? If not, that's okay. We'll find out what we can on that.
Yeah, that's not my area of expertise. Sorry.
Right, and I would assume that that's probably a question maybe for the Employment Development Department at the state level. But again, we'll try to get that information out to our audience. The next question may be for the panel here. What with regard to tax credits? So if a business owner's income is reduced by half, is anybody aware of tax credits that may be available?
I'm not certain if there's anything available from the IRS. I'd probably have to check in with them. I have heard, at least for business tax credits, a lot of local municipalities at least are waiving fees or giving extended terms and doing a lot of different things at a very local level, but not offhand. I'm not aware of anything from the IRS. I'd have to research that myself.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. And that's probably a question maybe for a CPA or a tax professional on that, or obviously the IRS or the Treasury. Okay. Here's a question. We are a mutually benefiting not-for-profit C corporation, a homeowner association. Will this qualify for the PPP program?
Assuming you have payroll expenses and or the other qualified expenses like mortgage or rent, I would think, and you're organized as a even as a benefit corporation, you said. So yeah, I think you would be eligible. Again, it's looking at your, what your financial needs are, and that's kind of the trigger as well. I've had some businesses that, haven't demonstrated any sort of loss yet, but they know they will because of the way they're, how they operate. Maybe there are contracts that are ending and not being renewed, or they've had to postpone work. And so just now that we're entering April, they're starting to see their revenue impacted. So if they had applied last month, they might not have been able to demonstrate a loss, but moving forward, they're able to demonstrate that they suffered an economic loss and that they do have a financial need that they can't meet right now with as far as their operating expenses. So that's part of this equation too.
Okay, great. Thank you, Julie. Another question we have is, do we have to pay 80 hours of sick time before we can be approved for the PPP program?
Have to pay. I'd have to wait till I see the more detailed guidance. I'm hoping like we get to that level of detail in our SOP that is forthcoming, but I don't want to misspeak on that one without seeing our guidance.
Okay, and so I'm working on sharing the screen here. This is the application, and Julie, correct me if I'm wrong here, this is the application that will be for the PPP program?
No, actually, that was the paper version of the EIDL application.
That's
okay, so this application, this is what the application should look like for the economic injury.
Well, it's the older version. The new one that's up as of Monday is much more streamlined. That was the website you were showing, and Scott showed, and I showed previously. That one is a backup. If for some reason, that is a good point to make. If for some reason you're not able to apply for the economic injury disaster loan program online, we We do have paper versions of forms available that we can share with you. The online, this is the preferred method. This will be the fastest way to get your information into SBA so that it can be processed. But if for any reason you can't use this format, we do have paper documents for you to fill out and submit back to us. So you can request
Andy,
those.
Sorry, Julie.
Oh.
Hey, Julie, I had a question.
Mhm.
I saw that the interest rate changed to 0.5 for the PPPs.
Yes.
It didn't change for the EIDL, it's still
Correct.
3.75? Okay, and the max is still 2 million?
Correct.
Okay, until further notice, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have to put an asterisk next to everything these days.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
As of this minute, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then I just sent Andy, I sent you an email that I got from Heather Lutzi, the Julie in Sacramento, district director of the SBA in Sacramento office. That's who she is. She just sent me this document that I just sent to Andy that is really badass. And I think we should send this out to all the participants today because it walks through a lot of what we're doing and talking about right now that we're trying to figure out as we go. It's a long document. It's like, I think it's 12 pages, but
yeah,
we should probably send it out because it goes over like a lot of cool FAQs for applying and stuff like that. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that.
You're talking about the one for the EIDL? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this thing. Did you see this?
Yeah, but I'm not certain if it's ready for prime time yet. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, I gotta stop sending it out then. All right.
All right. Well, eliminate.
My bad. Sorry.
But we'll get this fixed up and we'll get this information out to the audience as quickly as we can, as soon as it's ready for prime time.
Okay, sorry about that. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry, but there is on the SBA.gov site, and if you click on the really big picture, the coronavirus image that we're all getting used to, it'll take you to our page that has some information about PPP, and there is a sample of, yes, that one, and the learn more link, just on the picture there. Yep, that one. And so this is the page that is going to update all of the different programs, especially those related to CARES Act, as more information is coming out. Because please remember, although last Friday might feel like a month ago to many of us, that this legislation was just authorized Friday afternoon. So this was SBA working all weekend and nights and everything to try to get all this stuff propped up. So the PPP is, you'll see the link there, and we're updating this. Like I said yesterday, I think this website was updated 3 times. So there is a sample in here too. If you go into learn more, I think either of those 2 things take you to the same thing. But the there's like a click here. There is a sample of one of the documents. Call it a PPP if you want here, that you can download to take a look at. But I caution you to, once this program is up and running and we have more information by Friday, there'll be more information you will likely need to submit to the lender. So you can view, if you keep scrolling down, I believe there's a link to download a PDF version of the PPP application. Yes, download the sample form. So this will just give you insight into what this will look like. But again, you're going to need to have the conversation with your lender to see all of the documentation and things you're going to need to submit.
Yeah, and I'm also going to chime in here too. Andy, I don't know if you want to add this one to your list of resources, but if you go to the Treasury's website, treasury.gov/cares, if you want to pull that up. I think that should be it. Yeah, so if you scroll down there, they have a section on resources available to small businesses, and I believe it has a link to all the same information that Julie's been talking about. If you keep scrolling down, assistance for small businesses. There's some PDFs right there. There's a sample of the application that Julie already went over, but then there's also some information if you're a borrower, which is really helpful. It kind of overviews the program, talks about the interest rates and all that sort of stuff, when people can start applying. It's a great little resource there. In terms of some of the documentation that lenders will be looking at, and this is just what I've been looking at with Savings Bank right now, because according to the application, we have to be able to verify the information that business owners are submitting. So we have to be able to verify the number of employees, what their wages are, payroll taxes, and all that sort of stuff. So one of the items that we will be requesting of people are most recent tax returns for starters. If they don't have 2019 taxes filed yet, as most people don't, especially with the extension that's been granted, we are asking for year-end profit and loss statements that detail those line items such as salaries, wages, benefits, taxes, workers' comp, et cetera. And then also, I'll verify that we are asking for quarterly Form 941, which are those quarterly payroll statements. So that will actually help us verify number of employees and wages, because based on stuff that I've seen in me, it seems like a lot of the basis for the PPP is based on a 12-month average of those monthly expenses. So for us to be able to verify the information that borrowers will be putting on their form, because they fill out the application, they'll be putting the amount of funds that they're requesting based on that 2.5 times monthly payroll expenses. We have to verify that as the lender, so we'll be looking at those Form 941s, and if they don't have 2019 taxes filed, we will be looking at the year-end P&Ls that will have that information.
Yeah. And I do have a recommendation, especially if you just started your business last year. If you are able to file your 2019 taxes, if you have that information ready, you just haven't submitted for whatever reason, I do encourage you to submit, because again, this will have added support for the borrowing that you're applying for, whether it's through EIDL or through PPP.
Okay, great. Thank you to everybody on the panel. Thank you to everybody that's joined us today. We do have a little bit more time if there are other questions. We can try to get to those today briefly before we wrap up. But just a real quick recap of everything that we've covered today. I think the first thing is talk to your creditors, talk to your landlord, talk to your service providers like PG&E, Verizon, AT&T. A lot of these folks are offering deferrals and will be willing to work with you as a business owner and an individual. The next thing, as Scott said, apply for these programs as soon as you can. As soon as you can wade through the information that's available at this point in time, apply for these loans and forgivable loans through the SBA and through local partners. Those local partners are any financial institution. Okay, so these are credit unions, these are banks, these are folks that are on hand here locally and in your neck of the woods that are going to be able to administer these programs. Okay, the economic injury loan is directly from the SBA, so you work with them, but our other financial institutions have opportunities for folks. The next thing, communicate what your business is doing to make the situation safe and continue to keep the doors open. Communicate with your employees and your clients. Talk about what you're doing, how you're trying to prepare and keep everybody safe, and also keep the doors open. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Lucas here real quick.
Thanks, Andy. Just a couple more words. Use your local folks. We're here to help. The Lake County Economic Development Corporation, there's no fee for our services. We want to help guide you through this all the participants for working with us on this, and we'll probably be doing another webinar in a couple of weeks to update everybody, and we look forward to expanding our services through the help from the SBDC as well as the USDA. So thank you very much.
All right, does the panel have anything to add at this time? I'm just going to quickly see if we can pull up a couple of questions here.
Okay. Now that the good point about being vigilant and watching out for scams and some fraudulent activity that we all know is already happening. If you receive an email or a phone call and you don't know if it's legitimate and it's tied to SBA some way, shape, or form, please reach out to the district office and we can confirm and verify for you if that's a legitimate request or if it's a fraud or a scam. So I know sometimes they're difficult to tell, and unfortunately when $2 trillion is made available in a stimulus package, that unfortunately that triggers a lot of bad actors. And so we want to make sure you're getting the right information and going to the right resources. So please ask if you're not sure.
And to follow up on that too, there are, folks out there that are offering services to businesses at, some level of a fee. There are free resources out there for businesses through the Small Business Development Center, through these nonprofits. Don't get involved and don't pay people to help you with this stuff. The SBA is a resource, again, the SBDC. So there are local service providers that can help. Anything else that the panel wants to add right now? I'm just trying to pull up a couple of more questions. Is there anything that the panel wants to add right now? Otherwise, I've got about 2 more questions, and then we'll go ahead and sign off. Go ahead, Scott.
This is Scott Rogalski. So Andy and Jeff Lucas just brought up and so did Julie actually, 3 things that are really, really key that you need to keep in mind. So there are scammers out there. We partner with the Better Business Bureau. They just were on the TV last night doing a take, teaching people how to deal with these scammers. So if you need help with that, I can get that information to Andy. And then also, because they would know more about the scammers than we would. Also, the fintech lenders, the lenders that are online that are better emailers than and people, snail mailers with their marketing, they're amazing at it. They're really, really good at it. So they can get in front of you faster than we can get in front of you. And they do fund in a day. And these loans that we're talking about don't fund in a day, but there's a reason why. It's because they're better loans. They're not going to take you out of business. A merchant card advance loan would take you out of business. A fintech lender may take you out of business because they don't have to, at this time in the life that we live, they don't have to tell you what their interest rate is. They can lie, or they can make it up, or it could be a factor. We don't know what that is. You have to know like calculus and other stuff to figure out their interest rate. The other thing is, and then the other thing that Andy mentioned, or maybe Jeff did, is that there are people on the street right now, business brokers. So like we talk like we're brokers, but we don't charge you, and we don't get paid from the lender. But there's brokers out there that are charging people $2,500 to do what we're talking about on this call that we do for free. Yeah, the brokers have time and they could probably call you back right away, but I wouldn't go talk to those guys and gals because $2,500 is ridiculous. So you should not be paying that money at all to anybody. All right, that's all.
Thank you, Scott. I'm going to go ahead and pull up. This is a local resource for Lake County, Mendocino County. This is the Lake County EDC website, and I just wanted to let everybody know that on the call here, we're going to have, under the resources page, we have lots of different information here, and I know there's lots of different information that's out there through the sites that we've identified today, through the SBDC, through the SBA. But we're trying to consolidate our local resources, and is put the slides and recording and the Q&A of this particular webinar on the website as soon as we can, and we will also be sending out to the participants today, all of that information. But again, you know, it's hard to keep up with this stuff, but do your best because you know your business best. You know your situation best, and you're going to have to judge for you and your business what is best to do to move forward. So with that, we've got, let me see here, 2018 tax returns. I think those are okay. If you don't have 2019 filed, I see Julie nodding her head. That's for the application. Okay.
Yeah, Andy, I'm gonna just chime in there too. That sort of information may vary based on the lender because the lender is making that direct loan, and part of that application is individuals are certifying that the information that they submit is based on the tax documents that the borrower has submitted. So if they have the tax documents, that's what we can work with. Again, I think every lender, because we don't have the full guidance yet from SBA on underwriting criteria at this point, every lender may be a little bit different in what they're requesting. So the general idea is have some current tax documents ready. And that's why I'm saying those quarterly Form 941s will be helpful. And if they have the 2019 taxes filed. Otherwise, it's pretty much when you look at the application form, it's the borrowers certifying that the information that they're giving the lender is true and correct. And so that's what we're going to be basing our decision on making the loan off of. And so again, once more guidance is provided, each lender may have more items that they'll be requesting. Some lenders may be requesting bare minimum. It just kind of depends until we get that communicated from SBA to make sure that the guarantee is going to be applied.
That's great. Thank you, Sid. Julie, do you have anything to add to that? It sounds like it's another one of these, you know, it depends, and back to the individual situation with the lender and with the borrower.
Right. I mean, for the EIDL program, because that one's been operational for a couple weeks now, they're asking that you, well, today you don't have to submit, but you should have, will look at whatever available tax returns you have. So if you haven't filed 2019 yet, that's okay. They will look at 2018 and look at your tax transcripts. But that's why I'm saying, especially for newer businesses, if you have 2019 taxes ready, you've completed them, you filled out the forms, they're ready to submit, and you're ready to submit, please do that, because that's just going to help us in our verification process, even for the EIDL loans. So no reason to wait if you have them ready. If you don't have them ready, that's okay too. We will look for the EIDL program, at least what is most recent and what's available.
Okay, great, Julie. So just going to pull this up real quick for the participants. Just again, the contact or the website information for the panelists here today. I think we have maybe one more question, but wanted to put this up so folks can, if they want to contact their SBDC, if they want to contact Robert with the Economic Development Finance Corporation. He's out of Ukiah, Mendocino County, and then Julie is again with the Small Business Administration. So I'm going to try and get to two more questions, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Okay, so can you confirm whether or not operating expenses are included to calculate the eligible loan amount? If so, can you tell me how that number is calculated, since it's not included on the application?
I'm presuming they're talking about the EIDL loans, economic injury disaster loans. So yes, the new application is extremely streamlined, and it does have a couple of questions about your revenue, your cost of goods sold, employees and things. So I'm still trying to, because we're in a new application, one of the things I'm still trying to get a handle on is exactly what the process will be for underwriting. Like I said, the 10,000 advance loan is very streamlined. To get the additional EIDL funds, that up to $2 million, that's what I'm trying to clarify internally as to if we're changing some of our underwriting standards. So I want to be able to understand exactly how they're going through it so that I can better communicate to all of you. I will throw the caveat out there that I would still go ahead and submit if this is the program you're interested in and want to use, because SBA will, the loan analysts, when they get the application, if they do have questions or they do require additional information, they will reach back out to you. So again, that's another reason to make sure you're using an email address in there that you check frequently.
Right. Okay. So here is, I think it's okay. So when I heard that operating expenses are supposed to be covered, I called the SBA call center to amend my application to include operating expenses, and they confirmed that there isn't an area on the application to include this, and I was told to leave it as is. This seems to contradict the information provided today. Is there, Julie, can you provide a little bit of clarity maybe on the application process, or do you have anything?
Right. I mean, the application you see up there now as of Monday is a different application, a much more streamlined version than what was there, even the Friday. So we're still learning a little bit more too. That's the PPP one, but I'm presuming they mean the disaster one. So my advice to everyone is to go in there, answer all the questions that are in there and submit. And that if additional information is needed, the loan analyst will reach back out to you. I'm pretty sure that on the back end, they're pulling the tax transcripts and some other things, so they are looking at some additional information. But as far as there's no requirement, as you see on there, to upload your P&L or other financial statements at this time. And that's what I'm also trying to get more clarity on as to how this process, what we're doing perhaps differently in our internal underwriting for this program now that it is more streamlined. So and if you answer all the questions that are in there and submit, perfect. That's exactly what we want you to do.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and wrap up now. I want to thank Julie Clowes with the Small Business Administration. I want to thank Scott Rogalski with the Small Business Development Center, Robert Gernert with the Economic Development Finance Corporation of Mendocino County, and Sid Harper with Savings Bank of Mendocino County. Also want to thank Melanie Garrett for all her work in getting this, the logistics of this set up and outreach, and thanks to Nicole Flora for additional logistics and outreach here. Again, thank you to all the folks that participated. This information will be available, emailed to you with the contact information that you provided.
When do we want to do the next one?
That's a great question. So as this thing, as this all evolves, we will check back in with the panelists, and I'd say potentially next week, maybe the following week, depending on the availability of everybody. All trying to keep track of this. So we're going to look at the next 2 weeks here and try to get something put together again with a similar format, and just want to remind everybody to stay safe, listen to your health professionals in your area, and do everything that they're directing you to, and we'll all get through this. So just want to say thanks again to everybody. If there's nothing to add from the panel, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Julie, anything else to add? Scott, Robert, Sid?
Just thank you to the team in Lake County for making this platform available today so that we can communicate with you all. And please stay tuned. More information coming.
Our pleasure. We really appreciate it. And again, to all our listeners, it's a case-by-case basis. So just keep on keeping on, as they say. And we'll talk with everybody soon. So thanks again, and everybody have a great day. Okay.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.